With the new My Lowe's Pro Rewards American Express card, earn 3 points per dollar spent on Lowe's qualifying purchases for the first 6 months after card account opening. Plus, save 5% every day on eligible purchases at Lowe's and earn points on eligible purchases everywhere else Amex is accepted. Card members get more at Lowe's. Subject to credit approval. 5% can't be combined with any other offer. Exclusions and restrictions apply. Points subject to loyalty terms at Lowes.com/terms and credit reward terms at Synchrony.com/MLPRA-terms. Visit Lowes.com/business credit.
Welcome back to the Awakening Women podcast. In this episode, we're talking about the midlife reckoning, the midlife awakening that happens for a woman as she is going through the transition into perimenopausal and menopausal years. As so many things are shifting and changing in her life, including after holding together a marriage for the sake of the kids, as the kids are growing up and leaving home. Or they're graduating, and at any rate, they're not needing them at the same level as they did in their childhoods. And so this creates this instability, this feeling of the ground shape-shifting beneath you as everything that you knew is changing. That is enough alone for a woman going through this rite of passage, this what they call reverse puberty. It's emotional, it's psychological, it's brain fog, it's less tolerance, it's more emotional fragility. The veil has lifted. And the things that you once were able to put your head down and tolerate, you are no longer able to do that at midlife. And I'm so passionate about talking about this because I too have been going through my own reckoning as everything is changing and shifting around me. There has been a lot of loss. There's been pet loss, a parent loss, health loss, different changes, kids leaving home, just so much. And then you add a divorce in there when you've been married for decades, you raised kids, you held it together till they were older, you did everything you could. And you're at this place where you wonder, now that the kids have gone and you feel like you fulfilled your role, now what's here for us? And so that's what I want to talk about is if you're that woman in this place where your kids have left home, you're in that empty nest syndrome, which is something more people need to talk about. I'm going to be talking about it more because wow, have I gone through it. Just even in the anticipation of it and the transition of it has been its own grief and awakening. And so I want to talk about this. If you are in a marriage where you're like, okay, now what? It's perfectly normal to be wondering that because at midlife, so much is happening. So much is changing so fast. It can actually feel like sometimes you're just trying to literally catch your breath and calibrate to what's changing next. I had a very sudden, instantaneous death of my mother a couple of years ago. I wasn't expecting. She did have health issues, but it's always a shock when something happens just out of the blue, out of left field. There's no time. It's just they're gone. And so really seeing that, being that it wasn't a super close relationship, but we spent time together as a family and she was involved in my life to a degree, but it wasn't a close mother-daughter relationship like I hope I have with my daughters when they're older and as they are older. But there's still things in there that come up and you realize, oh, I have some characteristics of her. I'm starting to see myself. And so you have that coming up. You have empty nest syndrome, your identity crisis as you're trying to figure out who am I now if I'm not a mother in the same role, or if I'm not a wife, if you're considering what's next for your relationship, because for decades, that's been your identity as a wife and mother and whatever your career is, right? We are not our roles. Like we are not our job. We are not mothers or even wives. We are women who have these roles. And so if we identify really heavy with it, it feels like a complete loss of identity of who we are, because without that, we're like, who am I now? I have nothing without this, or I don't even know what I like or what I'm doing next. It can feel really disorienting and really unstable and unclear and confusing and all kinds of a mix of emotions. So if you're dealing with this in the midst of relationship that's falling apart, that's really hanging on by a thread that you are holding, You've held it together alone for the kids for all these years and everything that comes with that. I mean, we all know, I don't even have to say, I know very likely what you have dealt with. And a lot of times when I get on a call with a woman and she explains what's been happening, I always know that's like 5% of it, because it's what goes on in the day to day, in those quiet moments, in the moments when the kids are in bed, when you're alone in the kitchen, when you're in the car, when you're out going for a walk, or, it's those things that just build up and build up and build up to this place where you're just done. Like you're worn out. You're worn out. You're on your last thread. Your hormones have gone haywire and you don't know what end is up anymore. And your kids are leaving and you're like, what the fuck now? So this is the perfect storm for what is known as a midlife crisis. We hear about the man that does this and goes and buys a motorbike or whatever, right? But what I actually see this as for us women is a midlife reckoning. It's an awakening. We're waking up. We're realizing that, my God, I remember when my mom was my age, and then there was, when I think about, like, I was having babies and I was having kids and my mom was there, and now like I'm looking at that will be me probably in a few years. And you just start seeing things differently, especially when you have your mom die, because then you're like, well, I'm the next generation. And you have this wake up call that if you're, like me, I'm in my 50th year, that, obviously I envision myself living well into my 90s. My grandpa did, for the most part. I want to, as long as I'm able to walk, go to the bathroom myself, get up, get on, like I want to be go dead. Just kind of like my mom in a sense, because she didn't have to deal with losing her faculties or anything like that. That's what I would prefer than a slow burn out and having to struggle and have my kids having to take care of me and all that. But I digress. I am doing my best to take care of myself now, because all I can do is control the now. But the reality is we have more years behind us than ahead of us. And as women, we have to be very careful what we're doing at this phase, because we're at higher risk for other types of diseases like autoimmune coming on board, heart disease, cholesterol, different things coming online with these shifts. And so we have to really take that seriously if we want to be here and healthy and mobile when our kids are having kids. We want to be active participants and grandparents, right? So that's what I think about, is how am I going to do that so that I'm healthy and awake and aware as I age? So, we're thinking about all of this and we're like, do I stay in this marriage? Do I go? What if I can't meet someone else? Who am I going to date when I'm now in my 50s? I keep hearing about what a nightmare this dating climate is. Are there any good men out there? Will someone even want me? I don't like my body right now. I don't really have sex drive. Do I want to put all that energy in, or do I want to be alone for the rest of my life? I don't really like that idea either. And on and on and on. So we just put ourselves in this paralysis, and where do we go from there? As the veil of tolerance thins, because our hormones start to decline, what we put up with the decades before can no longer continue. Like, we know this on a very visceral level. Like, I know I can't continue in this. Maybe like our grandparents did, our grandmothers stayed because they didn't have options, but women today have options. We typically are higher earners. Some of them are the breadwinners that I've worked with. You have options. You're not being shackled and handcuffed. You have options. And so you're wondering, what does this look like? We break up, then the kids, who's going to come see me? Am I going to lose my kids? It's all of this. Are the kids going to go with him more? Are they going to go to his side? Because you've already seen kind of snippets of that. But that's all just noise. We are now asking ourselves, who am I now without the identity of wife and mother? If I leave this relationship at this stage of my life, who am I? And that is the journey. And we have to look at the cultural conditioning, societal conditioning, that if I leave a marriage, that means it's a failure, which is so crazy that we get this idea. And it's even in wedding vows, which is silly. We also have to recognize that we will always be a mother to our children. They're not children anymore. our adult children, but the roles that we have as they are growing up and differentiating away from us, which is healthy. We want them to do that. We want them to develop in a sense that they can go off and figure out their own way. And they're supposed to do that. But what I've seen, and I know I went through this has been a bit of my journey, is that we try to hold on to them and see them still as our little girls or little boys. And we're trying to hold on to some of our old roles of the nurturing, the mothering, the micromanaging, the anxious parenting, the worrying, the constant checking in. Like, it's actually really hard to not do that, but we have to learn to give them that space to figure themselves out, because if we go too much into that, it causes them to actually pull away. And I've seen this with many, many clients. A child or adult child does not want to be the sounding board for a mother's unlived life, her pain, her resentment toward the father, or the issues toward their father. They don't want to hear that. Even if they're adults, they don't want to hear that. And they also don't want to hear how angry and hurt you are by their father, or how awful of a person he is, and why you asking them, why do you even want to spend time with him? Or they give the guilt trips. If you do this, they will pull away and distance themselves from you, and you might even see them favor him. So when I'm coaching women around this, it's very important that you understand this. I've seen this a lot with women where they've been good mothers, they were devoted mothers, and they get a divorce and the kids go off with the father, and they're like, what the fuck? Like, I was everything for them. We were like, I did everything for them. I was it. So they feel abandoned and they no longer feel needed, and they have this other layer of this crisis going on. And this can be really destabilizing, understandably, right? All this stuff is changing. And maybe all these years you've been raising the kids and staying busy in your career or your business, and you have always just given your partner space because you were focused on the kids and you were focused on your career and your own life. So you just felt like it's easier just to give them space because I don't have to actually deal with what's actually going on here. I don't want to see that. So I'm just going to stay busy, which a lot of high achieving women do, high achieving mothers. But now that the kids are growing, they're off with their friends more, they're doing this, doing that, they aren't home or they have left home. Now you're with this man and you're like, well, I want more. But all these years we've just grown apart because I've been so focused on over here, not actually seeing the reality. And here I am now sitting across from this man that I don't even know. And there is no connection. There is no intimacy or depth. And you're asking for more, but it's not working. And he really makes you feel invisible. This we have to recognize as our unhealed wounding from our fathers. And so now you're trying to get your needs met that daddy didn't meet. It's true. We cannot parentify our partners. It's really unhealthy. We have to be willing to see that, yes, it's fair enough to want connection and all those things. Yes, yes, yes. And a healthy man will be able to give you them to a degree, but they're also not our girlfriends and they're not our daddies. So we have to have a healthy expectation of what an intimate partner can give us and be able to get our other needs met in other areas. So you might be in a place now where you want to spend more time with him because you don't have the kids with you all the time, or they're moved away, or they're gone off to university. You want to go on some dates or have a fun getaway and actually like enjoy each other, but all he ever wants to do is work, or he's just pulling away. He's in front of the television. He's checked out, or he's off doing this or that thing, but he's not present for you. And you've given him so much space over all of these years just to be able to survive what's actually going on, that you know something's going on, but you don't want to look at it. Fair enough. And now he calls you needy and shuts you down when you try to talk to him about your feeling, about, your pain, and that you want connection. And he's like, get away from me. You're like, what's going on with you? Because now you have needs, right? So this can be very triggering. he might say he still loves you and all that and wants to make it work, but you're emotional and angry when everything builds up. And so then that pattern just continues and nothing changes. You also know that you do need to clean up some of your own behaviors because you can become angry, reactive, controlling, and passive aggressive yourself. And you're doing all this to get your needs met, which is fair enough. We're almost always doing what we're doing to get our needs met. So is he. So, we can't heal by just pointing the finger at them because they're just doing the same thing, just in a different way. His needs for distance and avoidance. You've also been avoiding. You have also been self-abandoning and betraying yourself and ignoring you. So this is the work I do with women, really the conscious work of let's stop pointing the finger. Like, yes, leave them to have to sit with their own consequences, but it doesn't do any good to try and get redemption from them, from someone else. It doesn't. And even though you know that this controlling and the reactiveness and the passive aggressive comments, they might feel good in the moment, but they don't actually change anything. And you don't end up feeling good about yourself as a person because it's not really who you are. You just have become this person within the dynamic. And so that's fully on you. I remember when I had this realization where, I could be really reactive and mean back, and he deserved it. But when I really got it, I was like, no, actually, I get to choose how I'm going to react to assholes or anyone. I get to choose if I'm going to be one back or I'm not. And this is what I teach women is you get to always choose how you respond to everything because you can't control what they do or anyone else does. Your power is in how you respond to it. So you're in this dynamic and this energy and emotion builds up when he's shutting himself away from you, when he's shut down. It's like a wall. You can't connect with him. He won't listen. He doesn't want to talk. He just dismisses you and calls you too much or too clingy, and you're not getting your needs met. And he's neglecting your feelings, right? It hurts. And so you're stuck in this negative pattern that you definitely want to stop. Maybe he's saying he wants it to stop, but the proof is in the pudding, they say. They say a lot of things. And so what women do at this point when they have these men saying, yes, I want to stop this pattern too, I want to work on it, is then they say, okay, I'm going to find us a therapist. And that's where it all goes sideways because therapy is not for when you've had decades of crap that has built up and now you want to try and fix it. It doesn't work if there is narcissism going on, abusive tendencies going on. It will not work. You trying to drag him to therapy to change him is your little girl wanting to get your needs met. You're not fully seeing this from the adult perspective, truly. You're trying to fix him without seeing you have your own sickness to deal with because look at how long you've been tolerating this. So that's the approach I take with women when they message me and ask me, do you work with couples? Will you do a assessment? Will you work with him? No. I provide an assessment that's for you to do so you can stop lying to yourself and really see what's going on. I'll put it in the show notes here. It's free. Just so you can see the patterns and what those patterns are actually costing you because we need to be honest. Sometimes women message me stuff and they're not really calling it what it is. So that's fine. So I want you to really see what it is for real. If it's truly just relationship communication issues, sure, maybe counseling could help that if he's equally willing and motivated to do that work with you. But therapy has its limitations, I'm going to say. It really, really does. Maybe he also says you have issues too, and that your behavior is also problematic. And then you have this part of you that's like, yeah, I agree because I do know I lose my shit and I do blow up and I can be a bitch and I can say things back or do things back in retaliation. So then you're like, okay, so what now? And so you're like, oh, we need to work on this together. No. If this is you and you're resonating here, I'm telling you girlfriend to girlfriend, because I've done it all. Don't go to therapy. Don't waste your time taking him to therapy. It's not going to work. You focus on your own heart and your healing and connecting with your truth. He does not need to be any part of this. You don't drag him to therapy to try and control and change him. Because I know when you're talking about therapy, you're thinking, yeah, okay, maybe I have a few patterns here and there, but it's him that needs to change. It will never work. Instead, what you do is that you quietly, without the drama, without announcing it, you get yourself into mentorship, whether it's mine or someone else who specializes in these dynamics and these relationships as I have. Specifically for the last 6 years, I've been working with women to help them get clear and empowered and in action mode with this, to actually see, can this be changed? Because you are in this place of, he wants to work on it too. Well, let's discover that, but without him involved at first. That's my approach. You can bring him into it later, depending on his reaction to your evolution and your changes and your boundaries and your shift in reactions. You're no longer reacting. You don't tell him that you're doing this work. You don't ask for permission or what he thinks. You don't do any of that for at least the first 30 days. You're just focused on your changes and what I have you do. That's all you do. You be in the work. You be the woman who's in full control of herself, her reactions, and her power. That's it. For a minimum of 30 days. And then there's a part in the phases where you can bring him into it with a very specific protocol that I have. This is where you get the real clarity. Is he really wanting to work on this with me? Because they all say that, right? He will notice your changes, and his responses will tell you everything if he's truly motivated to change. And not by your pressuring and your mothering and your nagging, but from your powerful inner pivot into your feminine presence, joy, and pleasure that you're creating within yourself without him. You're no longer reacting. You're no longer begging and clinging and being needy. You're just focusing on what lights you up and turns you on. As one woman who said it when she applied this methodology, is bringing the focus to myself felt scary and selfish at first, but now I'm feeling hopeful and maybe even a little excited to see what could shift for me now. It's time to do your own power pivot. And this is what we do inside of the collective. You get access to my world-renowned process that I have worked with women all over the globe in this process. And you can go on the page and see there's endless stories, testimonials from women sharing their experience going through my process that you actually get when you become a member of the collective. But you also get community and access to other things that really help this move things forward for you. The clarity, you'll feel empowered. You'll feel more in charge of your emotions. You will feel more secure in yourself as you're navigating what's coming next, because you have the tools and the support system in place. And that's why I created this space, because a lot of times we're trying to navigate this on our own and it doesn't work very well. That's why we keep spinning in the same patterns, because we don't have the community, we don't have the mentorship, we don't have the guidance that truly empowers us to take full responsibility for our own lives, our own reactions, our own emotions. Everything that we do is our responsibility. Your relationship now and in the future will always be a co-creation. You are co-creating it with this person. This person right now is a match of your current level of evolution and awakening. And so it's time to change. It's time to do the work. It's time to invest in yourself and really go all in. And if that's what you're ready to do, that's what we do in the collective. And if you're wanting to take my free assessment that shows you the pattern, where you're at in the pattern, and your next steps, as well as what it's costing you to stay in the pattern, you can click the link in the show notes and grab that as well. So I hope this has been supportive and helpful for you. Maybe it's validated something within you that you know is true, and you're ready to take that next step.